And good evening, everyone. ESS, Empire State Sports, proudly presents the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show. Your host tonight, Joey Riom, Dave Bartlett, myself, Pete Golson, our special guest from deep, wherever he is there, almost in somber, Mark Flick. Welcome to the program, Flickster.
Hey, glad to see you guys. Thanks, I'm glad to be here. Glad to finally make this happen.
Fresh off the golf course and ready to go, I guess, huh?
Yeah, can't say I played well, but I still played. Yeah.
I'm going to throw it over to your buddy there, Joey Riom.
Okay.
All right, so I got a really good friend of mine on tonight. I call him my big brother. We've been buddies now for a long time, and so this one a little close to my heart, having Mark on, and we got a lot of things I think we can discuss in this hour, but I'm going to let Mark introduce himself, and Mark, you can talk about some of the things that, your work history and in your coaching history. Obviously, you're a longtime assistant coach for Malone girls basketball, and we're going to touch on that at some point, but give a little bit of a taste where you went to school, grew up, where you went to college, and in your work, and now obviously retired and living on Chateauguay Lake. So go ahead.
Okay. So many people know me, don't know me. I grew up in Plattsburgh area, actually Morrisonville. Went to Saranac High School, played basketball and football there. And then I went to college at Plattsburgh State. I played basketball at Plattsburgh State with actually one of my teammates is Tom Curl. So a lot of you guys know him. He was this previous coach of Plattsburgh. Tom and I are very good friends. But after college, I got into work for U.S. Customs. They're there in 1984 up here in Trout River. Married my lovely wife, Jody Cardinal. She's from Potsdam, but was a school teacher at Bruston for 33 plus years. And, we lived in Malone. And like I said, I worked in Customs, started at Trout River, small little port of entry. And then from there, I went to Champlain. I worked at what they call the SET team, which is contraband enforcement team. It's all we do is look for drugs and try interdiction and that type of thing. So there's no everyday stuff. It's all about interdiction. And I kind of was fortunate. One of the most fortunate things I did at Customs is I went down to Florida the day after Hurricane Andrew hit Miami. A lot of people don't know that, but I was down there the day after the hurricane hit. That's what was part of a relief effort called Hurricane Andrew Relief. And I worked down in Florida for probably 2 months, just trying to help the people who got pretty much displaced and stuff. And I can say I made some monster seizures. The biggest seizure of drugs was 33,000 pounds of cocaine at the time down there. Yeah. But it was really interesting work. I worked mostly at the seaport. Then I got promoted, went to Messina. I was started as a senior inspector, went to be a port director. And then I went overseas to Saudi Arabia. I actually taught Saudi Customs how we interdict stuff and, move forward. Right after 9/11, I worked 9/11 for about a year and I changed 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, because we just didn't have any staff after 9/11. We had to do all this work. And I was burned out. I went from customs to investigations. I did intelligence work for investigations in 2002. And then I stayed in the intelligence realm all the way to when I retired. So my biggest thing I was doing before I retired was license plate reader analysis and stuff like that. I would take and try to figure out what smugglers did when they did it. One of the most interesting things I did is when the breakout in the prison there, I actually picked out Joyce's car as a target car, but I left it as nothing because I said she found out she worked there, not knowing that she was involved at the time. But anyways, I did a lot of weird things, a lot of interesting work. And one of the biggest things I started doing was coaching youth basketball. I started out in the Biddy basketball program in Malone, helped a guy named Bruce Benware and Donnie, I can't think of Donnie's last name, did the Biddy basketball in Malone. But anyways, they both did it and I helped them. Missy West was working with us, Dan West, and we just did all youth kids, and similar to what Joey does in Brazier right now. Just start kids at second and third grade. My youngest daughter started going when she was in second grade, and then I brought that group of kids that ended up winning the state championship their senior year. I started them playing, what do you call it, youth basketball essentially. By the time they were in sixth grade, we actually played like 60 games. I think we actually played 66 games from the fall of when they're in sixth grade. Some people say, well, that's crazy. That's too much basketball. But that's what the parents want to do. I said, you guys want to do it? We'll do it. And we played 66 games. I think we went 60-6 in that group of kids. The only team we ever lost to was a team from Gloucester, not out of Ottawa. And we played them 12 times. They won 6, we won 6. So it's crazy. But the ball, that's where I started coaching basketball, little kids basketball and girls. I enjoyed doing it with my older daughter and then my younger daughter in that team. And I remember that's how I got to know Jerry Welch. If you know Jerry, my member guest partner, Jerry's like a dad to me. I've coached his basketball camp a number of years, and I really enjoy that. But anyways, Jerry always said, hey, that team's going to win the state championship someday. And, we probably should have won it 2 years in a row. My daughter's junior year, we were actually leading by like 14 at halftime and ended up losing the second half in the championship game. That team went to the Final Four 3 years in a row. They lost in the first game. Would have been my daughter's sophomore year. And then her junior year, they lost in the finals. Again, I think we had a really good, almost a better team they had their senior year because we had Beth Wiggins on the team. But our senior year, they actually were down, and I took those kids in the summertime. I played as big a tournaments as we could play. Just Malone kids. We didn't win all the time, but I credit playing that competition in the summertime why we came back and won their senior year, because we were down like 8 going in the fourth quarter. Most teams would have folded, but they never gave up and battled back and came back and won the state championship there at 2008, I believe it was. But then we went on the Federation tournament too. We should have won that, but we got host. So we had 7 kids foul out. 7 kids, they had none. Christ the King from New York City and all the referees from New York City. Anybody who went to the game will tell you it was bad. We only lost by 2. So that's kind of a little bit about me. So
Flickster, I'll jump off because I'll tell you what, I think it's not appreciated enough. I don't think it got talked about enough. And as time has gone on, I don't think that your group of girls get enough credit, because I think it's unheard of for a Class A team in the North Country when there's only 2 of us in the whole North Country, in Malone and Massena. And I think you guys would agree, over the last 10 to 15 years now, our Class A teams in basketball, when they go play their state playoff game, a lot of times they're getting rolled. I mean, so I think the job that you guys did in that stretch was amazing. To think, our D schools, absolutely, we have the cream of the crop of D schools, but to think that we've only got 2 A schools and one of them was good enough to compete for states 3 years in a row and actually win the state championship in the sport of basketball, I don't think you guys get enough credit for doing that.
I don't know that you're ever going to see it done again, but
I agree. Now Pete and I, we did one of your playoff games a couple of years ago down in Onondaga. And you guys put up quite a fight in that game, but other than that, it hasn't been too close in any state playoff game. And that's Massena girls, our Malone girls, Massena boys, Malone boys. And it's not a knock on those 2 schools. It's how powerful the A schools are as you go down.
Oh, if you think about it, we were as small as A school as you're going to get, probably. And we were battling, and we just played. I think a lot of it's one. I had some really dedicated parents, and it started when we were younger. And then when we played AAU, we played just Malone kids AAU, and I played top-notch AU tournaments. I didn't play, to be honest with you, not to be bragging, but we didn't play Potsdam. We didn't play Platts. Well, I think we actually might have played Plattsburgh because they had a decent tournament back then. But I went out to New Hampshire. I went to New York City. I went to, and actually that group of kids, we actually went, Jimmy Myers and myself went together. We put the team together. We went to the Nationals, and my daughter was a sophomore. And we won 5 out of 6 games in Washington, D.C. Well, it was mostly Malone kids, and they had a couple kids from Messina. A lot of people don't know that. Jimmy Myers and I went down there, and we coached the team, and we lost 1 game. We didn't make it into the next because the team that went to the next level actually won all 6. But Allison Johnson actually got a look from a Louisville coach back then. So the Louisville coach couldn't recruit her because she was too young, but he asked me all about her. But then she had knee problems. So unfortunately, that's why she didn't probably go as far as she could have. But she won the national championship, though, at Albany College Pharmacy on whatever that is, NAIA or whatever it is. So, that's and then after that, I ended up, Joey and I played ball together. I played ball with Dave in the men's league, but I ended up going over after my daughter graduated. I started coaching boys at Joey's at St. Lawrence, and I did that for a couple of years, and it was really enjoyable. It's something I could do after work. Joey and I are close friends, and we coached together. I think we complemented each other quite well, and had a great group of kids. I really enjoyed coaching at St. Lawrence. I mean, I still keep in touch with a few of them, and actually one of them I got to help get a job at Customs in Messina there. So great kid too. So, and I actually played golf with his dad the other day, so it was pretty cool. But that's that for that. And as far as basketball goes, I mean, I now coach at Northern Adirondack. I coach JV basketball. I started out coaching modified, and I had an opportunity actually to coach other places, but I just want to be close to home and be a little bit of travel, but still keep my hand in coaching because I just I like seeing kids get better. And Joey will probably attest to this. There's nothing better than you're walking down the street and one of your old players comes up and says, "Hey, coach, how you doing?"
Yep.
That right there is enough to get you out coaching. I volunteered at Malone even when Joey was there. I was still volunteering. Actually, 2010 to 2016, I was volunteer assistant at Malone's girls varsity. Then in 2015, I started coaching at Northern Adirondack. So, but I've been there ever since. So, no, excuse me, it's 2016. So, but.
Yeah,
There weren't many.
The game in Onondaga, if I remember right, didn't they play JD, or was that the second game?
Yep, it was JD, and it was. I know after the game, I got a picture of myself with Jimmy Boeheim because his daughter was on the team. So.
Yep, we did too. Yeah, they just. To be honest with you, Mark, we were doing the game for WICY that day, and you guys got in foul trouble early, which took you basically. I mean, it hurt you to begin with, but they had such a deep bench. But you put up a hell of a fight. If a couple things would have went one way or the other, you guys could have walked in.
Down the end, we were right there. We actually had a chance to win that game. But yeah, they battled. That group of kids was a tough group of kids. They I had Morgan, what was her last name?
Fountain.
I can't think of Morgan's. Fountain, yeah. She was a tough little player, ended up playing at North Country, and he had a couple other good players. We had a girl that ended up playing volleyball out at in New Hampshire, was like an all-star volleyball player, but she was a really good basketball player. Rachel Lamica. So both those kids were, I think, co-MVPs that year of the league. But
yeah, you had a couple.
And Rachel was one of the few kids. Yeah, I always had the Marshall kids.
Yep.
They're stuck. Yes, and of course, Brittany Marshall ended up starring at Plattsburgh, but she wasn't on that team. But I coached her in my EU teams. But Brittany and Ashley Marshall was quite a softball player as well. So, But my daughter Brittany ended up playing at St. John Fisher basketball. So, and Haley Pooper played Division II at St. Anselm's, and Beth Wiggins played down in Virginia somewhere. A lot of good players came on. Of course, you got your 3 main players. You got Amber Goppert played at Richmond, Virginia. Then you got Diodolfo played at Boston University. Of course, Missy West played at Duke. So those are the stalwarts. And you also got the Westcott girl played at University of Rochester. I think she's still the all-time leading scorer there. So some good players come out of Malone down the stretch. So unfortunately, the program in Malone is not what it was, and mostly because of people aren't doing the youth basketball stuff as much. They're not the dedication of the family is just not as there. I mean, I think there is a real good group of young kids coming up. There are a lot of the kids that were parents played when they're like 7th, 8th grade right now. McCardle family has really done a really good job with the youth program in Malone, and they're coming back around. But it takes that dedication from a family member or a parent and the group of parents, essentially. I had a group of parents that were just dedicated and want to see their kids play. So, and it showed. I mean, we wouldn't have been state champions if those parents weren't all on board, you know. So, takes that. So, but I'm rambling on here, guys. I don't know what's going on. But, yeah.
Hey, one thing I was going to say is, you know, one of the things, all the years I've been involved with Section 10 basketball, the one thing you set your clock by it is you always know you're going to have Malone and Messina in the championship game. And, you know, every year there's Flickster for Malone and George Tripany for Messina. I mean, I couldn't think of two guys that were so dedicated as assistant coaches the way you two guys were and are. I mean, you're still doing it. So
the funny thing is, you know, I'm pretty good friends with George. You know, and I got really good friends with his daughter Danny. When I watched the basketball camp at Potsdam State, George actually came to me and asked me. She was very young, and I was working the camp, and he goes, "Hey, take care of my daughter." So I kind of did, you know. But Danny's a super nice girl too. You know, she played at Providence. But yeah, George, a great guy, very good coach. It's a huge rivalry, obviously, because you know you're going to play them. I don't care if you finish 2-12 or whatever. You're going to play Messina. You got a chance to go to the States. And generally speaking, Malone, we usually won, but there's some times we lost too. I mean, my coach Shelly just retired. Shelly Skelly was her last year this year. She retired. It was her last year. I don't even know who's going to do the varsity program. I don't know if it's Sam, who did Sam Dumont, who did the JV program. I don't know if he's going to be it. And who knows if we even have basketball with COVID, you know, it's scary. You know, I mean, I can't imagine as a kid not be able to, I mean, unfortunately my senior year, I missed most of it. I broke my ankle 6 games into my senior year. So I didn't see much of my senior year. I wouldn't want that on anybody else. You know, I know how I felt when it happened, but
Have you heard anything, Flickster, over in Section 7? Because Section 10 today made their announcement as to how we're going to move forward with the fall anyway. Have you heard anything about Section 7?
No, I don't hear as much because we got a different athletic director over there, and I'm not kind of tuned in with him yet, you know. So the guy we had previously is not the athletic director anymore. So I'm not really – I mean, I've heard a little bit they're going to start soccer at the 21st of maybe September, if I hear right. And I heard they're playing soccer, but they're doing some, like, football is done. Volleyball is done this spring till March. I knew that because my niece coaches the volleyball team. Other than that, I don't really know a lot. So,
well, as far as Section 10 is concerned, this won't be too topical because the show won't get released for a week or so, and everybody's going to know this, but for your knowledge, so the only 2 sports that'll be conducted for us in Section 10 will be cross country and soccer. They decided today to move swim to that football season in March, just because there's so many logistical issues right now. Potsdam Central doesn't have a pool. They've always used Clarkson, and we've always done sectionals at SUNY Potsdam, and the colleges aren't going to let us on to either one of those. So we just got some logistical issues, and Messina right now can't participate till October 13th because of their remote. So We're just soccer and cross country, and you can start the 21st. My superintendent has already decided we're going to wait another week and to start on the 28th. That was an option. He went with it. And then I've heard some schools, and I don't have any names of schools, but I've heard some schools, they're considering bagging it all together because it is, I think people are going to be, I was talking to Pete before we came on the air. I'm sure people are happy as hell that sports is back, but it will not be back the way you've always been used to, you know.
I'm kind of worried about basketball myself. I mean,
I am too.
Yeah.
I'm really starting to get worried about it.
Yeah.
Basketball and hockey are
Same down here.
Something's going to happen pretty soon for basketball and hockey to happen, and wrestling.
I agree with that.
Sport. So,
yeah, I'm sad about it, but it is what it is. I mean, you know, it's tough. We're living a tough living right now. I mean, it's tough around. I mean, I was in law enforcement for 3.5 years, and I'm sure glad I'm not in that anymore either. So I feel sorry for a lot of my friends. So.
Yeah. Well, and and some of the things that we haven't talked about because we're so focused on what's going on right now, we're not thinking about the long-term effects. I don't think people are realizing, well, you better enjoy what you can get because we're going to be back to budget crunches. You may not see JV teams. You may not see modified teams because we're not going to have the money. That money's going to have to go towards saving teachers and saving classes. And it stinks all around because sports is so important, but you can just sense those things coming. I can feel it coming as the athletic director.
It's sad, Joey. I really feel for the kids. It's mostly, I mean, if they ask me to coach for free, you know, I do it. I just do it. And I like getting paid for it, but I did it for free at Malone for 6-7 years and wouldn't bother me. And I did it for free at your place. So going over to St. Lawrence for a couple of years there. And I do it. If it took me working for free over here at Northern Adirondack, I coach the JV girls. I wouldn't charge them a dime. But, you know, what the state does to you as a volunteer, though, I couldn't. My wife used to say, you're the only person I know making negative money because I had to do take all the classes and do all the courses and take the first aid class and get updated in the first aid. All that stuff costs you money, but I'm not getting paid anything. But I didn't care because I like I said, the most important thing for me is I see somebody out in the street or somebody on Facebook. I get a friend request. I would never friend request a kid, but they friend request me because I was a coach of theirs, so they like me. And a lot of them are boys, girls, doesn't matter who they are. I accept it, but I never reach out to them, but because I think it's kind of weird. But and as a girls basketball coach and coaching girls, that's the hardest thing as a man coaching.
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's that, you know, a lot of people think, oh my God, he's coaching girls. Is he a freak? And I was always so conscious of that. I was almost, matter of fact, the girls that I would never, like I used to run this youth basketball program in Malone, and every Tuesday and Thursday nights, I'd open up the gym and I do fundamental. That's it. All fundamentals. Whether it be post moves, ball handling, anything. But parents, I got to a lot of parents who just drop their kids off, and it's like a babysitting thing, you know? Mm-hmm. So I got to a point, I would never be there alone in the gym with a bunch of kids. So one parent had to stay behind. I don't care who they are, one parent. So anyways, and I was always in girls basketball when I was coaching, whether it be AU or modified basketball, or I always had to have another parent in the gym because I just didn't want that, you know, that somebody to say something and then one of the kids say something and then, you know, it's I just protected myself. I was always leery of.
Yeah,
don't need to be scrutinized that way.
It's a tough predicament.
So I was very good.
Tommy Smith and I did it down at Salmon River, so we always had dual coaches down there too for the girls team. So you don't want to be put in a predicament, and the way the world is now, a lot of finger pointing, you don't want to be put in that situation at all.
Yeah, I was really careful. And, you know, some of my best friends today, well, Rick LeBaire, for instance, LeBaire family. All three of their daughters played at Chateauguay, heck of a basketball players, good family. Rick LeBaire and I are best friends now. and a lot of my best friends are from I coached their kids in basketball. Dick Edwards from Malone. Now, Greg Patterson from Malone. Their kids, the Johnson people, Wiggins. You know, the Marshalls, Brad Marshall. I coached all three of his daughters. You know, some of my closest friends that I can call, Johnny Reynolds, just another one. Call close friends, or Joey. I didn't coach his kids, but we coached together. You know, I've maintained those people as close friends to this day. And I mean, that's one of the joys about coaching. You know, it's that camaraderie, and if you're an honest, good coach. And I always try. My biggest thing when I coached was always and Jerry. This comes from Jerry Wells, right from out of his mouth. He taught fundamentals to his college basketball players every day. And I did the same thing. I still do ball handling drills with my kids. Some kids think I do post moves all the time. And, like my daughter Brittany was a point guard, but you wouldn't want her to get in a post because she would use you up because she had phenomenal post moves. And so did my older daughter my older daughter is now a doctor. She was not as athletic as Brittany, but man, she got the ball in the post. Not only she was a little bit nasty, but she had phenomenal footwork in her post moves. So, but it's every kid. I'm a firm believer that we don't have guards, you don't have forwards, you don't have centers, you have basketball players. Every kid's got to learn how to handle the ball, and every kid should learn how to post moves and use both their hands. So, and I think, I played a little ball with, like in the men's league with Dave and Joey, and I like to step out and shoot the three every now and then. I wasn't quite like Kevin Walbridge, but
Nobody is.
nobody Kevin would let us go. But I did set a pretty good pick. I think I remember one time setting a pick on Joey and picking him up with his shirt afterwards. I laid him out clean.
Well, that was when I realized that you and I were going to be buddies. We were on opposing teams, and Flickster, my teammates were letting me know that a 270-pound brick wall was standing behind me, and I was about to run into it.
I literally reached down and picked him up by the shirt. I said, "You okay?" Actually, I was probably playing with Dave when that happened. So
Probably.
we had some good times, though. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh man, Malone Adult Basketball League days were great, and we had Kenny on a month and a half ago, and just those memories. I'll never forget those. It was just fun to go be with your buddies one night a week for an hour and play in the game. I mean, I was lucky. I can't speak for both of you guys, but with every team that I played on, I was playing with guys that played the game the same way that I played. And that was what was enjoyable to me. I mean, we didn't care who scored. Nobody rushed over to check their stats. It was just, let's go play basketball and have a good time. So
I don't know if I can say that because I played with Kevin, but other than that,
Yeah.
I was talking to a guy from Chattagate today, and they were joking that I was the first guy that ever played with Chattagate Bowl that wasn't from Chattagate, because I ended up playing like pickup ball on Thursday nights with Picor Bissett and PK Curtin and those guys, and they ended up playing with a Chattagate Bowl when the first 2 years I moved up here, like probably 84, 85, 86. Something like that. And of course I was young. I was right out of college. I could stand in the basket and dunk the ball, and those days are long gone. But I was athletic.
If you were one of the first outsiders to play for Chattagate Bowl, then you leave Chattagate Bowl, and at some point you join the Brazier Vets. And Brazier Vets was Tri-Town. We were Brazier Winthrop SLC guys, and here comes the big Flickster coming to play with us at the end of your career.
Yeah, that was it. I'm going to tell you, I had some great times. The funny part is Doc and I used to battle. I mean, we banged with each other. We played physical, but it was physical clean. It wasn't physical dirty. You know what I mean? And Doc will say the same thing. I think that was the hardest thing with Doc when I went up playing with you guys was, shit, I won't be able to bang with the Flickster because he's on my team. But how many times did we win it all, though, Dave? I won with Doc Rocks, with Dave, with Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
And we won the championship, and so did we. Joey, we won there too. So
yep,
fun.
Yep.
Yeah,
good times, absolutely.
Well, I mean,
and
so,
now that you bring up Doc Rock. So I look at Dave. He looks like Doc Rock.
He kind of does. I agree with that. He kind
Yeah.
of does.
You
Uh-huh.
probably could open it. You could open up the Z Bar, Dave, and bring the second coming of the Z Bar back.
Hey,
You can't open Z-Bar because I don't think it exists anymore. I think it's gone. So,
Yeah.
Oh, I know it's gone.
oh, into the river. But we did have some good times down there, that's for sure.
ooh,
Doc took care of us as far as
Doc-
players.
Everybody has fans of
Doc,
Z-Bar.
Doc did take care of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
2 beers if you won, 1 beer if you lost.
Yeah, we didn't lose many though either.
Nope.
Most time it was 2 beers at least. Yeah, that night we won the championship and we got into that stupid, what do you call it, fireballs, or whatever.
Ah, Atomic
Yeah.
fireballs.
Atomic fireballs.
Cinnamon schnapps and Tabasco. Ah,
Yeah. It was a stupid night, that's for sure. But
definitely.
I was dying.
Yep.
Top-notch athletes like yourself drinking after games. I would never, ever,
Well,
ever do
you know,
anything like
I think I might have went drink with you and I had like 6, about, I don't know, 5 minutes. Yeah.
Well, hey, I am here to say I've known the Flickster a long time. If you've never had a beer with Flickster, don't get in a race with him, especially right after a basketball game. It's gone. It's gone as soon as he takes a drink.
Yeah.
Holy moly!
It's funny. I was in high school. They had a pie eating contest. I was a junior in high school, and they had this guy, the senior, who's big, ended up playing football out in Division II out somewhere. A big fat guy. And I won't even say his name because now I call him a fat guy. But anyways, everybody we had a pie eating contest. So everybody thought this guy was going to kick everybody's ass. It wasn't even close. I mean, I had that blueberry pie eaten with no hands, and he had his leftover. So it was gone. So I said one of the funniest stories I'll tell you is in college I went down with my buddy to a party, and we stopped and got subs, and literally pulled into this place. I got a sub. My buddy, my best friend, one of my best behind me, got in the car, and he says to me, he goes, "Where's your sub?" I go, "I ate it." He didn't believe it. So literally we got to where we were going. He searched the car. He goes, "Where's that sub?" I go, "I ate it." So you don't ever want to get in an eating contest with me either. It's the 2 things. I drink beer fast. I eat fast. I don't run fast because I am dirt slow. Come on. I am not known as a speedster. I might like to bang with you, but I'm not a speedster. Yeah.
All right. Before this thing gets way off the tracks here, Flickster, tell everybody a little bit about, because even how did you meet Jerry and start your relationship with Jerry Welch?
Well, I met Jerry. We were actually playing when my daughter was in probably 6th or 7th grade. We were playing basketball, one of the Potsdam tournaments back then. When we were younger, we did actually play in the tournaments in Potsdam. And Jerry came up to me and said, "Hey, you got a great group of kids here, and someday you're going to win the state championship." And then he asked me, he saw my kids were pretty well, fundamentally sound, and he asked me to work his basketball camp. So I worked his camp for I don't know how many years. Got to know some of the characters at Potsdam, and then Jerry and I just started playing golf together. And Jerry was my member guest partner in Malone for I don't know, quite a few years. And Jerry turned into I go down and visit Jerry. Matter of fact, you say this about Jerry, he called me today. I was on the golf course. I get a phone call from Jerry. Jerry and I talk at least probably once every 2 weeks. He's like a dad to me. I lost my dad when I was 12. And so Jerry kind of taken me under his wing. We talk a lot about basketball. We talk about the North Country. He always asks about Joey. He's if you don't know Jerry Welch, you'll never forget. If he wasn't a phenomenal coach and a phenomenal person, he's been a wicked politician because he doesn't remember it. He's been a good politician. So, but I worked with Jerry at his camp. We became great friends. I went down. I used to say it's like Forrest Gump one time, Jerry. So I go down and visit Jerry. I went to on one weekend. One night I went as a guest to Mike Krzyzewski, watch the basketball game at the Duke game right at the see all the Cameron Crazies. And then in the afternoon, Jerry's son-in-law is a coach of the football team. He's like the assistant coach of the Duke's men's football team. we went to a football game, and then and then we played at this course called the Governor's Club. And that's where Michael Jordan was a member, and it's a private course. I think the initiation fee to get there was $7,000. And it's a phenomenal golf course. And Jerry will still tell you there's a par 5 there, and that's back when I could play. It was like 535, hit driver 2-iron to about 2 feet, made an eagle there. Jerry still talks about that, but those days are gone. I can hardly bun it anymore, but that's okay. I still go out and hack around with Joey and the boys, but I played with Rich a couple of days ago. He shot a smooth 69, so he's threw up 69 on Saturday. He shot 69 with me on Monday. So I didn't play bad today. Today was a disaster, but my game is I get a case of the shanks and it just gets bad. So anyways, golf stuff. Some of the highlights of my life when we went out to the Ryder Cup. I mean, Joey, that was my friendship with Derek. It got us into that. I mean, I worked for Derek a couple of times. I worked the PGA for Derek. I've worked the President's Cup for Derek with Joey. I've worked the Players down there where Derek is now at the TPC Sawgrass. There, Derek runs the place down there. And then I was supposed to work the Ryder Cup again this year. I was all scheduled to go. Unfortunately, my other buddies aren't joining me. I was going to go, but I was going to go by myself and hang out and do it. So, but that got postponed. I'm going to do it again next year. I'm on the list for next year. I'll do the Ryder Cup next year. But that experience, some people say, what's the Ryder Cup like? I always say it's like watching a golf and Super Bowl. The atmosphere is beyond description. I mean, it's just the way people are and hollering, the players are just taunting each other and stuff. You just don't see it in golf until you go to the Ryder Cup. And Joey, you'll see it. You went to the President's Cup. You think that's the same? Yeah, I mean, the President's Cup was good, but not the Ryder Cup. The Ryder Cup is if you could go, it's like Joey's had the opportunity to go to the Masters. I play every year and I get zipped, but eventually I'll get a ticket sometime. So, but
well, that's something that we've talked about on a couple of the shows, probably with Derek. But I that's the one thing, it needed to be canceled. You can't have the Ryder Cup without fans. It just would. There's no way.
No.
There's no way that would just.
No, it wouldn't be the same. The players wouldn't be, just the people out there screaming and hollering is part of the thing. It's kind of like you're watching a football game. I'm a footballaholic. I love fantasy football. I do it with a bunch of different people. I do all that stuff, and I love watching football. And I watched all the games. Just wasn't the same the other day watching the football. I mean, it was still good, but it wasn't the same as you normally see it. It's how the crowd noise is not there and that type of thing. So we live in the world.
So Pete and Dave have heard me talk about the Ryder Cup, but one of the things we didn't talk about, with you, it's a little different because we can dive into it a little bit more. But so Pete and Dave, one of the things that on the Sunday of the Ryder Cup that we went to, we didn't work that day, so we were there as so we can go on the grounds as fans. And Flickster, I wish we had a photo up, but Flickster, he crossed the line with me. He became a face paint. He painted his face red, white, and blue. And I mean, I'm like, come on, man. You're making the rest of us look bad, number one. But yeah, imagine that big melon with the big red, white, and blue flag all over it. It was quite a sight. But on top of that, Flickster, you can back me up on this. I heard noises and roars unlike anything I have ever heard of. And, I've been to all the professional sporting events, and I've never heard crowds like that. It was unbelievable. The hair was standing up on my neck, and for the whole 8 hours that day.
We got out there. I think the first tee box was 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. We got there at 6, and yep. I think I had my first toddy at 6:05.
Pretty sure
Why'd
about
why'd
that.
wait so long?
Yeah.
I don't know why it took so long because we had to walk out to the thing. So
Oh, okay, okay.
I painted my face red, white, and blue. And Dick Edwards, my good friend, he still has it. That's his. Whenever I call him, that pops up on his phone for him. So I wish I could. I don't know how I could show it to you. I actually probably got it somewhere, but I don't know how to do that. So I'm not that technologically savvy.
I'll tell you what, I'll find it and I'll share it. I'll share it to Pete's ESS page on Facebook, and we'll let the world see it.
So
Absolutely.
it's quite the thing. Some people will laugh forever. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah, I like to have fun. That's the way it is. That's me. I've known you guys for. It's funny. I see you guys. I've been watching your show. I'm like, geez, is that Dave that I used to play basketball with? I think it is. Maybe not. I don't know. I haven't seen Dave in ages, but it's funny. But we played ball together. How many years did we play together, Dave?
2 or 3.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Till I had enough of Kevin and move on with Joey. So
Yeah.
no, Kevin and I got along fine. Just
Me too.
You just got to switch. He's a good guy, and he could flat out shoot it. He got over half court. He was in his range. So
Yeah.
I opened him up a few times. So he got a lot of open shots because of my screens. Yeah. But, yeah. Even Lacey, remember? I think Lacey played on their team too.
Yep.
Lacey. Here's another guy he could get his shot off with anybody. But I'm still good friends with him. I played ball with him at Plattsburgh, but he's had some health issues lately, and he's not doing the greatest. But I think he's better. But
So Flickster, a couple other things I had written down here before we wrap things up. Talk a little bit about, because Missy was a guest on our show way back when. You actually were involved with the first 2 years of Beyond the Game Academy as a coach. So I'll give you a little chance to talk about that and Missy giving back to the North Country.
When actually Joey was a big part of that for me. Joey and Missy hooked up, and then Joey suggested that maybe I would coach, which I really enjoyed it at the basketball camp. I really enjoyed what Missy does as far as the mental aspect of basketball, how you got to understand the mental aspect as much as the physical aspect, and how important that is. And there was, Missy led in the North Country, obviously, and scored 2,500 points or whatever, played at Duke. But not only is that, she's a phenomenal person. And the irony today is my match today was against Dan West. It was the match. Dan we actually went down to the last hole. And but anyway, that's Missy's dad. But I still keep in contact with Missy and Amber Goppert as well. She was at the camp last year. Amber has her own gym in the Atlanta area, I believe. But Amber has a special spot for me because when my daughter was, I think, in 3rd grade, Amber was a senior. And of course, I knew basketball, so I asked Amber to come over for her for her birthday party on her 3rd. Doesn't Amber show up at my house, have dinner with my 3rd grade daughter, who didn't even know, and it was, my daughter never will ever forget that. It's just her type of person. But Missy was that same type of person. She just likes to give back to the community, give back to her hometown. She comes up here to Tampa with her wife and Colleen, and they're just great people who give a different perspective about basketball and sports in general, and that mental aspect, and how you got to be prepared mentally, and that type of thing, which and some of her drills I've incorporated in my my practices, and some of the drills that if you're going to basketball camp, you can take stuff out of it too, and I've incorporated a lot of the stuff that she does in my practices. But I can't say enough good things about Missy. I mean, just a great person who not only is a great player but understands the game. And when my daughter played at St. John Fisher, it was Missy's first year coaching at Hartwick. And my daughter, when they came to St. John Fisher, and St. John Fisher back then was a really good female women's basketball program. They had been to the Final Four, very well known. And Missy came there in Hartwick, and I'm telling you, they did not have the talent that St. John Fisher had, and they beat St. John Fisher in St. John Fisher my daughter's freshman year. Hartwick beat them. First time, I don't know how long. Fisher went back to Hartwick and kicked their butt, but they still that day beat Fisher. And I can tell you, they probably didn't have them very long. So, but she was a phenomenal coach, phenomenal person, and said can't say enough good things about her. She knows where she came from. She didn't forget that. Some people went to Duke and might forget where they came from, but she didn't. So. And that's that kind of answer your question, Joey?
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought it up because we like to talk about the things that that impacts or, has a correlation to some of our other guests. And obviously Missy was one of our first guests in Beyond the Game Academies. Unfortunately we didn't get to partake in it this summer. We weren't able to, but let's hope that it's able to come back because I know the girls in the North Country just really appreciate that. And for me, it's a totally different, I get your outlook because I've never coached girls before. And It gives me an opportunity to be around them and teach basketball a little bit differently, learn a few things that I possibly didn't know before. So it's a great avenue for myself as well.
Yeah.
So
I mean, people always ask me, why do you coach girls? I've coached girls and boys. I said, what's the biggest difference? Girls will run the plays where boys will just rely on their athleticism a lot of times. They just okay, boys, you get an offense, you set a bunch of rules and just let them play. I mean, with girls, you really got to have, sometimes you can have like that group of kids I had. I used to just tell them, we do this, we do that. Give yourself, Brittany would hit people on the back door. Like, how the heck did you know that? Brittany's my daughter. She make passes that you don't normally make in basketball on a varsity level in the North Country, but because they just play together all the time, It's and another guy, another subject, another guy I watched your program on was Derek. Derek Sprague. People don't realize Derek and I have been friends since he was actually in college, his freshman year in college. We know each other from the golf course. He was bag boy at first, and then he became, assistant pro. He went to, I'm trying to think where he went to college, Delaware maybe, or
James Madison.
James Madison, my bad. Okay, close to Delaware, but James Madison, played golf there, and Derek and I became great friends because he knew I worked the border, and he'd come back from the bars down in Huntington, because back then, and he'd sit there and visit with me at Chattagay border when I worked midnights for an hour, 2 hours. And Derek used to detail cars. He had a detailing car business, and we just had a lot of fun, and we became close friends back then, and we became still close friends now. I talk to Derek regularly. I haven't talked to him in the last 3-4 weeks, but I was on the golf board at Malone for a few years when we actually first hired Derek. I was on the board back then, and was the smartest hire Malone ever made. And look how far Derek's just the hardest working guy you ever want to know. I mean, the hours he put in at Malone when he was a pro there was, and whenever Derek wasn't there, he'd be bussing tables. He'd be, helping out all the time. And he's just a hardworking guy, and he deserves everything he got. I mean, he's probably one of the most accomplished people to ever come out of Malone, realistically. So.
And I don't think Pete and Dave realize that. So Flixter has wintered recently in Florida at the end of basketball season. So, late February, March, April, just south of Sawgrass where Eric is, right?
Yeah, a little south. That's why I worked the players. I will go to New Smyrna Beach. I rent a condo on the beach there. So it's a little trip. I didn't really players. I actually was a driver. I was one of those guys that go to the airport and pick people up at the airport. You know, pick a pro and your pro's wife or whatever. You pick them at the airport and bring them wherever they want to go, you know. And then you give them back then I used to give them a Lexus. That was who was sponsoring the tournament. It's kind of different, but. You know, those are just number one people. You know, there's a lot of good people in the North Country, and Joey Realm is one of them. So, well, you too, Pete, maybe. So, yeah, you guys are freezing up.
Well, Flixer, before we officially freeze up, because I'm freezing up here too. I don't know what's going on. So let's wrap this thing up. And I want to say thank you, one, for coming on. Number two, the 3 years that you gave me were something else for me, something I'll never forget. I appreciate that, and what you did for me and what you did for my kids. It really was the impetus for the beginning of my program. I wish you would have hung around one more year. You would have been able to be part of the first ever championship at St. Lawrence Central, but you laid the foundation and helped us to get things going in the right direction. And for you to give your time like that, again, you're one of the first really of all of our guests. You're that volunteer assistant that every coach wishes they could find. You know, that person is just willing to give their time without any pay whatsoever. I can't say thank you enough. You're my big brother. You're one of my best friends. My friends, anybody that knows me, friends are my life. They mean as much to me as my own family. So for everything that you've done for me, I can't thank you enough. And glad that you were able to finally come on, tell some stories tonight. I didn't realize that you and Dave were teammates. I didn't know that you guys were teammates, and because that's kind of it's freaking me out, man.
I go, well, that's the Dave I used to play with.
How the heck did I make it through a ball game without getting dinged up against you two? Holy cow!
Dave took a long exit before you got around, so.
That's got to be the Malone Adult League version of the Twin Towers back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't want to come in the paint when the Flixter and I were on the floor.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, not too many rebounds were had by anybody besides me and Dave, but he had better moves than I had. But anyways, we had a lot of fun. Joey, I can tell you, if I ever had a little brother, it'd be you. And you know, we had some fun. And I wish I would have stayed with you, but you know, things changed, and you know, I think I really, back in the day when I first was with you, we stressed the importance of sportsmanship and getting the referees on your side. And it wasn't always the way at St. Lawrence before then, but it is now, and your teams have really shown it now. I think they may watch you play if Joey Realm's coaching the team, his kids are only going to play hard. They're going to play right to the end of the buzzer, and they're going to play hard-nosed, fair basketball, and everybody's going to appreciate the quality of basketball. They don't care if they're talented or not. They're going to give it all. And that's what, if you watch Joey Realm coach, that's what you see. So he gets a lot out of his players. Gets a lot of them. And that's a sign of a phenomenal coach. So the more you get out, you got talent. But, you know, a coach that gets the best out of their players, and they're giving it their all from the tip to the final buzzer, that's a sign of a great coach. And Joey's a phenomenal basketball coach. So it was my pleasure to coach with you and learn from you. So that was I really appreciate that, Joey. And Dave, I really enjoyed playing ball with you. And it's too bad we didn't work out the thing to get down and play some golf, but we'll get down there eventually. So, and
You will.
Pete, it's good to see you again. I appreciate you guys having me on this show. It's a great thing you do for the North Country, so I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for coming on the show, Mark. Well, you and I have only seen each other in a couple golf tournaments, but sooner or later we're all going to get reconnected here pretty soon, hopefully when all this mess is done. So I wish you the best and stay safe up there.
God bless you guys. So take care. Thanks a lot for having me on.
That's going to be it here for ESS Empire State Sports tonight. Your host, Joey Riom, Dave Bell, and myself, and thanking a special guest, Mark Flick. Thanks for being on. Good night, everybody, and stay safe.
Good night.